Okay, so in this video, I'm going to talk about why people play TWOH. First off, the mouse 1s. TWOH's mouse 1s deal 10.1 damage, putting it at 3rd place for strongest M1s in YBA, tied with SPTW. Next up, the moves. The first move we'll go over with TWOH is his knives. TWOH's knives deal 32 damage, have a 10-second cooldown, 8 of the damage they deal block bypasses, and they are uncancelable. Like all knives and projectiles in YBA that are uncancelable, the best time to use it is when you're in the opponent's face. Next up, Reality Override Punch. Reality Override Punch does 20 damage upon hitting and distorts the opponent's hitbox whilst removing a limb from them. This move is parryable, however it does block bypass. However, you should never use this move unless you've broken the opponent's block, as there is a huge sound cue that basically tells anyone near you that you're using this move and that free parry is coming your way. So don't use this move unless you've block broken the opponent or parried them. Time Skip. What do I have to say about this move? It's just the best movement tool in the entire game. It's really not that complicated. Okay, and now we have Ascendant Smite. Ascendant Smite is just a good move. Its true block break does 35 damage, has a War Crime for a hitbox, and is extremely active. The best times to use an Ascendant Smite is post block break. I mean, I guess you can use it there, but I did not mean to say that. I meant to say post Jawbreaker or post Haymaker. That's probably the most common time you see people use it, and it's also, in my opinion, the best time to use it. Other notable times to use Ascendant Smite is, say you're getting M1'd by your opponent, teleport directly in the air, and use Ascendant Smite on your way down. That's also another pretty decent time to use it, although preferably use one that goes Jawbreaker, Ascendant Smite, because that's basically true due to how active Ascendant Smite is. You don't even have to be that precise with your timing. Next up, Overwrite Injury. This move is bad, TWOH is too expensive to sustain it. And now it's time for arguably the most grand move TWOH has. Well, actually it is the most grand move TWOH has, not the most grand ability TWOH has. Time Stop. It's pretty self-explanatory. You can stop time anywhere from 6 to 9 seconds depending on your upgrades. However, your damage will be capped at 50% regardless of how much you upgrade the time stop. I would like to also mention that 4M1's knives and 4M1's is literally enough to hit your damage cap, which can be accomplished well within the 6-second time stop, so never get a 9-second time stop. Also, I'll briefly mention 2 things, or maybe 3 things. First up, Horse time stop tech. If you're playing in Steel Ball Run, you can use the Horse headbutt move, and that stand crashes the opponent. You can then use time stop. No, headbutt does not put your time stop on cooldown. So simply use headbutt, time stop, and when your time stop's about to end, barrage the opponent. And you'll be able to extend after time stop, taking away anywhere from 80 to just flat out killing the opponent. And the second thing we're going to talk about is how to lock people down with time stop resistance. After parrying or block breaking with Jawbreaker, all block breaks are created equal. I do not know if this works with Crescent Slice or Scarlet Overdrive, but after block breaking with Jawbreaker at least, maybe the others work, use time stop immediately, 1-1, and then barrage. This will lock down any stand that does not have TS resist. Also, you even catch GER slipping with this. Yes, you can catch GER slipping with this. If they are mashing RTZ, it will actually come out. However, you will not get cutscene. It will simply just come out like the evasive variation, which shouldn't happen. They should just get hit by time stop, but this is YBA, so he still has evasive. Why did my mind die? He still has evasive RTZ, but for the most part, you can use this against GER with no repercussions. And now, it's time for the thing that breaks TWOH, the Reality Override passive. What do we can say about this? Well, a quick rundown of what it does. It makes so that all of your M1s deal true damage. In other words, they ignore any and all damage passive. This includes your Hamon passive, so if you're a ludicrous enough to play TWOH Hamon, just don't. You're not getting the Hamon damage buff from it, because it ignores damage. However, more importantly, this means that it ignores the boxing defense passive of the opponent, the spin defense passive of the opponent, and the Hamon defense passive of the opponent. All of those are ignored. So, remember when I said that TWOH is the 3rd strongest stand in the game when it comes to raw power of mouse 1s? Well, if you're up against Boxing, Spin, or Hamon, TWOH is actually the strongest stand in the entire game, as after the defense passive, TWOH is still dealing 10.1 damage per mouse 1, while KCR and D4C Love Train are dealing, I think KCR deals 8.7 per M1, and I don't know how much D4C Love Train deals per M1 after Boxing passive. However, I know that it is lower than 10.1, thus making TWOH the strongest stand in the entire game when it comes down to raw power. Unless they're playing Plucker Vampire, which is a fairly common matchup, but if they are playing that, they're still the third strongest stand in the entire game. Anyway, that's it for this part of the video. Next up, the stand spec synergy of TWOH. Okay, so for the stand spec synergy of TWOH, first up, TWOH Pluck. TWOH Pluck has no redeeming qualities other than the fact that stopping on noobs is mad easy with Ascended Smite and Unsealed Steel, but outside of that, TWOH Pluck is just mediocre, as if they're half decent, they're not going to fall for that. After that, we have TWOH Spin. Spin sucks, don't play it. And after that, we have TWOH Hamon. TWOH Hamon, I mean, there is one notable synergy with TWOH Hamon, which is Zoom Punch into Overwrite Punch. That is true, but let's be honest, Overwrite Punch is washed and does not last nearly as long as it used to. Also, if you play TWOH Hamon over TWOH Boxing, you belong in an insane asylum. TWOH Vampire. I mean, there's no notable synergy with TWOH Vampire, but Vamp's just good. Following that, we have TWOH Boxing, which is the most common version that's played and is probably the best one and my personal favorite. The only notable synergy that TWOH Boxing has is the fact that Jawbreaker Ascended Smite is basically true, as well as Haymaker Ascended Smite is also basically true. But that's it for this part of the video, and the next part is why people play TWOH. So, the reason people play TWOH is quite simple. First off, the stand is fairly popular, I mean, it's TWOH. And, well, the gameplay reasons are also very simple. First off, the M1s are arguably the best in the entire game. Second, knives are pretty good for establishing priority, and it helps you land those said M1s. Ascended Smite comes after every other Jawbreaker, being free damage, and it has a time stop that can subtract half the opponent's health bar if you get a block break off. And quickly, I'll discuss does it need a nerf or not. The short answer is no, and the reason is that in order to attain TWOH, it's a bit different from, say, attaining something like, I don't know, SPTW or KCR, as you need to do an entire quest. Note that me holding TWOH to a higher standard of balance, or, well, lower standard of balance, is only for TWOH, because TWOH is an in-game stand. I do not hold the same standard for, say, MHI or Tuskax 4, as those are far easier to get. Anyway, that's it for this video. See ya.